Hello and welcome to another edition of Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports TV. We're very glad to have you tuned in live on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. If you got us going Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, you got a rebroadcast going, and we appreciate that as well. I'm Tommy Krysan of Pelican Sports TV, and I'm joined by NFL scout, Fox Sports football analyst Chris Landry. Chris, how you doing?
Tommy, I'm doing well. Good to be with you.
Well, you said on radio the other day this was golfing weather that we're getting in South Louisiana, throughout Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, but we hadn't been on the golf course. We got to make an adjustment.
I know. It's got a little bit of a football feel in the air too. So it's hopefully we can bottle this weather because we won't be here for long, I'm sure.
We've got a jam-packed show for you tonight. A couple of things that we will obviously recap the Oregon game, and we'll get comments from Coach Miles and the players. We will take a look at the conference shuffle, as we dubbed it on Pelican Sports Radio today. Chris has talked to representatives from 4 of the major conferences, and there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot more to come on. Chris will update you on the very latest with the conference shuffle as it's taking place, if you will. And then, of course, we'll preview the Northwestern State Demons. It's been a long time since they played against LSU. And Les Miles actually 1-0 against Northwestern State. In his first year as head coach at Oklahoma State, they beat the Demons of Northwestern State. So Les Miles has been across the sideline from them before. On tonight's show, we'll tell you all about Pelican Sports Radio. We'll tell you all about the Chris Landry Show and how you can get that in other markets as well. We will have a feature tonight on tailgating in Arlington. Carter Bryant of our Pelican Sports TV staff put together a little piece in Arlington. We look forward to that. We'll kind of roll into that before break number 2. Also, later in the program, Carter Bryant had a penalty kick challenge shootout challenge, I should say, with Mo Isom, senior goalkeeper for the LSU soccer team. She's a tremendous person and student athlete. And Carter, as he's been known to do on Tigers Roar, Chris, he had a little fun with that. And I have not seen the piece yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it tonight. It'll come up in the second hour.
Well, we look forward to see it. Carter's always got some good stuff. So.
And, of course, we'll be joined by Brian Lazar of TigerBait.com right into the second hour. Get his insight on some of the LSU football stuff. Do want to remind you, phones first, WJBO Pelican Sports TV post-game show immediately following the Northwestern State game at about 10:30, simulcast on radio, WJBO 1150 AM, and on television right here on Pelican Sports TV and all these same channels that you're watching right now. Richard Condon, longtime sports radio TV personality in the Baton Rouge market, and I will have all of that for you. But the key, as WJBO 1150 AM has always done in this town, it's phones first. Within minutes of that game being over, we'll be on the air, radio and TV. The radio streams at WJBO.com. The TV streams at PelicanSportsTV.com. We'll get those phone calls. We'll have stats. We'll have scores for you. And obviously take a look at the LSU Northwestern State game. So that's after every game this year. So please spread the word about that. We mentioned we got a couple of radio things going on. Pelican Sports Radio is Monday through Fridays from 3 to 4 p.m. on the Score 1210 AM, which is a sister station to WJBO 1150 AM. You see the graphic on your screen, 1210 AM. The Score, 3 to 4 p.m. Monday through Fridays. That streams online at thescore1210.com. A lot of good features on there. We take your phone calls. We mix it up. We got Chris Landry and me, Tommy Krysan, on Pelican Sports Radio, which is brought to you by Pelican Sports TV. Then each and every Thursday at 2 p.m., it's the Chris Landry Show. Football, football, football with the guy that's been there and done that, NFL scout, Fox Sports football analyst, every Tuesday on the air, 2 to 3 p.m., streaming online at thescore1210.com. You can also hear that program on Friday evenings in New Orleans at 6 p.m. on WIST Radio, 690 AM, 104.9 FM. In Donaldsonville, KKAY, 11 a.m. on a Saturday, 1590 a.m. You can get that. You can get Chris Landry on WIST Radio, 690 a.m. in New Orleans each weekday morning from 6 to 8 with Brian Ali Walsh, an award-winning writer who has covered the Saints forever and other things. And Chris is all over the place. And Chris, give everybody a hint of what you'll have on tomorrow's edition, this week's edition, I should say, of the Chris Landry Show. I got a feeling it's going to have something to do with the Saints versus the Packers.
Yeah, you know, like we did last week, we focused a lot on LSU-Oregon, that big game. Well, an equally big game is Thursday night, the NFL lid lifter with the Saints and the Packers. So we're going to drill down deep into that. We're going to probably touch on a little bit of the conference alignment stuff. We'll really kind of focus on that game, focus on the other big matchups in the NFL this week, opening week, and also look at 2 or 3 of the bigger college matchups around the country. So that show really moves fast during football season. Hope you give it a listen.
Well, and also this Tigers Roar show, again, this is a live show on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Tell your friends on the North Shore, Covington, Mandeville, Hammond, Ponchatoula, Amite, Kentwood, Bogalusa, Franklinton, Slidell, Pearl River, Lacombe. Tell your friends they can get it on a Friday night at 5 p.m., all 2 hours of it on WHNO, TV channel 20 out of New Orleans, WHNO channel 20 in New Orleans. That's also good to everybody down in Lafourche and Terrebonne Parish, Bayou Country, Mississippi Gulf Coast, and of course in New Orleans on Fridays at 5 p.m. There's a replay of this show. That one doesn't stream on the internet, but you can tell your friends and family and Tigers Roar fans that they can get it right then. We're also on Facebook. That's a great way to keep up with all of this. We threw you so many numbers and stations and names. You go to the Facebook page, Pelican Broadcasting. You can communicate there with us. We post stuff about all the programming. Of course, Pelican's known for the hunting and the fishing and the outdoor stuff. The YouTube page, in fact, the features that we're doing tonight on the tailgating and soccer, that'll be up on the YouTube page tomorrow. The Twitter account, starting to grow a little bit, at Pelican Sports is the Twitter account. And you can always send an email to pelicanbroadcasting@gmail.com. That email address again, pelicanbroadcasting@gmail.com. And whether it's got to go to Chris Landry or anyone else on the staff or whomever here, we'll make sure the correct person gets that email, pelicanbroadcasting@gmail.com. And we appreciate all the people that take time to join us on Facebook or Twitter or send the emails. It does mean a lot to us. As you can see, it's a jam-packed show tonight, Chris. We're going to get to a break and come back, recap LSU's 40-27 convincing victory over the Oregon Ducks in Arlington last Saturday night. Chris Landry, Tommy Christ, and spread the roar about Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans.
Hi, I'm Troy Landry. You're watching Pelican Sport TV. I'm fixing to shoot 'em. Shoot 'em.
When you go hunting for tires, be sure to go to Hunt's Tire and Car Care, established in 1988. Hunt's Tire offers complete car care services and can meet all of your tire needs. From north to south, east to west, come see Les for the best. Michelin tires and great service. Call 272-7404. Relax in the customer lounge while waiting for your vehicle. Serving the greater Baton Rouge area since 1988, Hunt's Tire and Car Care is ready to serve you.
Explore the charms of the North Shore and visit St. Tammany Parish. Whether you're looking for a cultural experience or an adventure, you'll find it here. Enjoy great attractions and fantastic dining in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere.
Come visit us and discover the history and heritage that is Louisiana's North Shore.
For more information, log on to louisiananorthshore.com/bb.
Hi, I'm attorney Kerry Bryson. My law firm focuses specifically on helping people try to solve their IRS tax problems. Lately, so many new out-of-state companies are popping up claiming that if you send them money, they can resolve your IRS problems. Well, what happens if they don't? Do you hire an attorney? Maybe you should start with a local attorney that's already handled hundreds of IRS cases right here in Louisiana. When you hire the Bryson Law Firm, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some out-of-town high-pressure salesman. You'll meet with us in person at our office right here in Baton Rouge. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and we'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it'll cost. So if you're hiring a company to resolve your IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, check their reputation first, then call me, Kerry Bryson, or go to brysonlawfirm.com. If you're a Louisiana resident and you have an IRS problem, hire a Louisiana attorney, Kerry Bryson.
The family dental practice of Dr. Farrell Fruget Jr. and our highly trained staff are dedicated to providing care and treatment to our patients of all ages in all aspects of dental care. 23 years of experience and advanced training in cosmetic and restorative dentistry, TMJ, and treatment of snoring and sleep apnea allows Dr. Fruget to assist you in achieving the best in dental health. Call us today at 292-9700 to schedule your initial evaluation, because we know how to make you smile.
We continue with Tigers Roar right here on Pelican Sports TV. As you know by now, LSU 40, Oregon 27. Oregon with a very late touchdown, third quarter. A big difference in the ball game. LSU separated themselves from Oregon at that point, and kind of near the end of that third quarter, it looked like it was definitely an LSU win, and it turned out to be that. Let's get right to some comments from Coach Les Miles and some players about the Oregon game, and then we'll get Chris Landry's analysis right after these comments. Coach Miles and some LSU players.
Stretch it out.
All right, I'm being told by our impeccable floor director, Marty Campbell, to stretch it out a little bit. So we can stretch it out a little bit. Again, 40-27. We'll go to your analysis now, Chris, of what you saw, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, you know, looking at it, obviously watching the game and then breaking down the coaching tape of it, you know, the thing that was readily apparent is that LSU controlled the line of scrimmage. I think they felt like, and rightly so, that they had an advantage at the line of scrimmage, and they were very patient with it. They created and forced some turnovers by Oregon. Oregon self-destructed in some areas on their own and had some self-inflicted penalties. But anytime you give up a score like this on a punt return fumble for an offense that was not going to be explosive, you had 5 turnovers, 20 points off 5 turnovers. You're not going to win many college football games that way. But I thought LSU really pressured them defensively. We talked last week about putting pressure up front through the A-gap and forcing that bubble, that run outside, forcing them into the pass, and they couldn't handle it very well. Defensively, LSU was very patient. As you see, this was a culmination of a very effective run game, patience with it. It wasn't fancy, but they hammered them, and they eventually wore them out. And they didn't need to be as aggressive as maybe they've had to be in the past. And last year, a couple of games where the games were close. This game, because of the turnovers, because of the way that LSU was able to kind of spread it out a little bit, they were able to be real basic. Played 21 personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end most of the game. They just controlled the line of scrimmage, and that was the real difference. I thought the defensive line was outstanding. They rotated guys. The offensive line did yeoman's work. All 5 guys hung in there the entire game, all banged up. They controlled that line of scrimmage, blocking 8-man fronts most of the night, sometimes 9-man fronts. So very effective, I thought. Maybe not as flashy. You don't need to be flashy. This is not a flashy team. This was a very solid, fundamental, old-school victory by LSU.
Well, you know, and we had, you never know what's coming out of Oregon with uniforms, and we had been told they were dressing in all black. Turns out they called that charcoal, the charcoal look. They outdressed Brent Musburger and Kirk Herbstreit, who must have got dressed in the dark with their tie and shirt combinations. That left a lot to be desired. But everybody quickly forgot about the Oregon uniforms once you saw Georgia and then Maryland's attempt at uniforms Monday night. But anyway, it was charcoal is what they called that uniform. Anyway, Coach Miles and some players had plenty to say after the ball game this past Monday, where Pelican Sports TV was out on campus, actually on Tuesday with the Labor Day holiday. I sit corrected. Here are those comments.
I felt like the preparation was very good, that our focus was solid, that they recognized the things that they needed to do. The 2 pieces that I always look at are the turnover margin, which, you know, we won significantly there, and the penalties, of the opportunity to make smart plays, and the opportunity to not be involved in emotional bantering and can draw you into issue. I felt like our team did those 2 things extremely well.
Anytime you come out and get a win against a big team like Oregon, it's rewarding. Of course, we spent a lot of time focusing and getting ready for them, about a month and a half worth of practice. So anytime you put that much time into something and are able to pull out a victory, it's a great feeling.
We did what we were supposed to do. We dominated the game plan well. And, you know, Chief came up with a brilliant scheme, and we just went out there and dominated it. So
going in there, and like I said, we kind of had a chip on our shoulder and felt like we had something to prove. And I feel like we did a great job as a team going out there and just staying focused, staying confident, and coming out with a victory.
It just made us a better team and brought us closer together. And it showed on Saturday that we came together as a team and fought together.
We had a lot going on our minds going into the game. A lot had happened. So it was a big win for us. Personally, you know, I feel like I could have played a lot better, obviously. Had some throws I wish I had back, but overall we ran the ball well. Coaches did a great job game planning and calling plays. So overall we won, and we're happy with that.
Personally, I take the same minutes that the team take to celebrate. You know, I had a wife and a daughter that made the game. Weather stopped my two sons and other daughter from coming. And so I took a moment after the game to hug my 17-year-old daughter and my wife and celebrate. You know, smile and relax, and you know, victory accomplished. You know, on the ride back, I was really happy for my team. I felt like that they'd gone through a series of hurdles that they needed to get over to get onto the field and play, and I thought that they did that extremely well. I think that gift, if you will bode them very well in their future life. You know, there's times where all of us have to take things and put it into a position of lower priority, even though it's important. And I felt like they did a great job, and I thought my staff, I thought the defensive staff, you know, worked extremely hard to accomplish a very quality game plan versus Oregon, you know, that fast-paced offense.
Once again, it was a 40-27 victory, something I didn't see coming. I thought Oregon would end out on top when it was all said and done. Wasn't the first time I was wrong, won't be the last, but that's what you get for trying to predict when you really don't know. But let's take a look at the overall statistical page. Oregon actually, you know, had the numbers up on the upside with total offense, but a key statistic, Chris, as you know, and LSU has got a brilliant record when they win the turnover margin. 4 turnovers by Oregon to 3 by LSU, and of course the most important, 40-27.
Well, turnover margin is the most important stat as it relates to wins and losses, and as you see it here, certainly they were able to put some stats up on the board, but you can't overcome turnovers, and you look at things how it played out. That really was the case here. You know, there's been something that's been a trend that when Oregon plays in bowl games and when they play in the early part of the season, whether it's Ohio State, boys in the early part of the season, this LSU game, Auburn last year, there are a couple of things that are at play. You got more time to prepare for that offense, and 2, they're not in quite the rhythm. They're a little better in the middle of the season. I think it has something to do with the defenses that they play, something to do with the rhythm that they get in. So certainly they were very well prepared with LSU defensively. We talked about it, you know, before when we really got into the football. We talked every week in the summer how spring practice they were actually doing some things to prepare for Oregon, and that preparation with the athleticism that was displayed by LSU. Big physical guys that you can rotate, put pressure on an offense, that usually helps you come out on top. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just old-fashioned, old-school football, dominating on in the defensive end and from the special teams angle, and controlling the line of scrimmage on offense. That's going to win you a lot of games when you have more talent. I said on radio this week, and I believe it. I believe LSU, and you can go back and look at it last year, this year, even prior to that, under Les Miles, they win games in February in their ability to sign players. They do not do a lot fancy from a scheme standpoint. They are just athletic. They attack you, and they've got some real instinctive playmakers that find ways to come up big in big moments.
One guy, it's no secret that Tyrann Mathieu is an outstanding football player. He played for Coach David Johnson at St. Augustine in New Orleans, and you know, he had an impact last year as a freshman. He was named Jim Thorpe Defensive Back of the Week, which is a national award. He was also the Louisiana Sports Writers Association Defensive Player of the Week, the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. As I said on radio, I don't think that this is going to be the last time we have an announcement of this nature, but 10 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes broken up, 1 tackle for loss, and of course when he forced the fumble on the punt coverage unit, it bounced right up to him. He scooped it up and stepped into the end zone for a touchdown. Tyrann Mathieu, certainly, if the rest of the nation didn't remember hearing of him last year because Patrick Peterson was around, well, guess what? He's got Patrick Peterson number 7, and I think after Saturday night, a few more people know who Tyrann Mathieu is.
Well, the Energizer Bunny, I mean, he just keeps going and going and going. I mean, he's never off the field, and he's certainly had an impact all last year as a true freshman, and you can see his early impact. I think that there are different ways that you can lead, but the ability to lead by example and to be a playmaker, that is infectious. When you see it being around the football, having an instinctive way about attacking the football, making plays. You know, there are guys that put themselves in a position to make plays, but they're guys that make plays. They're playmakers, and Tyrann is a playmaker. That's what he is, and he does a very good job. He's got super quickness, he's super instinctive, and he, I think, has continued to show that in the early part of the season here in this game against Oregon, and I would expect that he's going to continue to play well. The entire secondary played well. Simon played well, Claiborne played well, safeties played very well, and played 8 guys. They all were very effective, and it's a very, very deep group. You know, Alabama's got a deep secondary, but this is the deepest and most talented secondary, not only in the country, but the deepest and most talented secondary I've seen in a number of years in college ball.
Coach Miles hinted on his press luncheon Tuesday this week because of the Labor Day holiday. He wouldn't mind having an annual game in Dallas at Cowboy Stadium or even in the Houston market, provided it was somebody else's home game. He managed to throw that in there because, you know, financially LSU wants as many home games as they can. There are 6 this year. Next year there are 8. Ideally, they're going to always want either 7 or 8 is the way I'm looking at it. But you know, they went on the road, now they come home. The home opener is always something special. Doesn't matter if it's the first game, second game, third game, but they'll come into Tiger Stadium. Here's some comments about Coach Miles from Dallas to Tiger Stadium.
Really enjoyed the experience again at the Cowboys Classic. Our fan base is very much like a home game. It was really another wonderful experience. What the Jones family's created there is a very special environment, one that certainly the NFL enjoys playing in, but we as well. I'd like to see us play a Dallas game there on an annual basis. I don't know exactly how that would work, but that would be I think it'd be fun for our fan base and certainly fun for our team.
I'm gonna be real excited just to be back in front of all the fans and like the student section and stuff like that. So it's gonna be like a homecoming for me since I ain't been playing, since I haven't played in Tiger Stadium in months, stuff like that. So it's gonna be very well.
You know, our home crowd is amazing. And, you know, coming home and play a game is always amazing, how they cheer for us and everything. It just brings the atmosphere so much higher, and, you know, we feed off of that energy.
You know, I know the Tiger fans are definitely anxious, waiting for us to get back in Death Valley, so just going out there and just play good for them.
Our team's looking forward to being at home. Our teams need to improve all 3 phases. There's pieces that need work. We're going to have to improve. To do the things that we're going to want to do, certainly to achieve victory against Northwestern State.
In just a minute, we're going to get to the tailgating feature that Carter Bryant from our staff put together in Arlington. But Chris, before we get to that, what does the coaching staff do when it's the home opener? You know, I mean, it's always a little something special about that. You know, you got some new players, some new guys that don't know the game day routine, everything from wake-up call to meals to dress out to taping to walk down the hill. How does the coaching staff, how do they, you know, get the players through everything leading up to kickoff? And it's always a little special for that home opener.
Well, you go over it, you know, you meet the team meetings, you save it to the end of the week. The schedule's pretty laid out. I mean, there's very little, gray area. They know exactly where they need to be, and of course they kind of take them away. So it's got a real good feel and an organized feel and tone to it. But and the seniors will kind of take leadership and ownership in that regard as well. And it's always a special time because for seniors, it's going to be the kind of the last time for everything. It's the last home opener, and it's going to be, and so it's going to be a special process. And I think the challenge always is for home games, particularly ones and games like this where you want to win, is it's the other things. Players get tickets, and you've got to sign on the envelope your tickets and all. Getting those things out of the way, and you start doing that Wednesday and Thursday to get it out of the way. It's the little things, because when you go away on a road game, it's actually less cumbersome because everything's planned. You take your team at home. You got, girlfriends and mamas and daddies that are aunts and uncles that are coming to the game, and everybody wants to see you. And everybody wants to be a part of the experience, but your focus has got to be where it needs to be. So trying to help them through that, particularly ones that haven't gone through with it, is some things and some elements you try to get through this week.
We remind you, immediately following the LSU Northwestern State game, it's the Phones First WJBO Pelican Sports TV post-game show with Richard Condon and me, Tommy Chrysan, and your phone calls, Phones First. It'll be at about 10:30 this Saturday night. Again, when that clock says 000, within a couple of minutes or so, we'll air up on the radio and TV. WJBO 1150 AM, streaming online at WJBO.com, and Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, online at PelicanSportsTV.com. As we roll to break, we got a real special feature that Carter Bryant of our staff put together as he was in Arlington for the LSU-Oregon game. Enjoy this feature, commercial break, and then we'll come back and talk a little major college conference shuffling. They're dancing all over the country. Enjoy this feature.
This is Carter Bryant out here at Dallas Cowboys Stadium for the big match between LSU and Oregon. Of course, LSU fans are known for traveling and tailgating. Let's see what I can find. The best of Baton Rouge.
There you go.
Go, go, go! David! David!
What do you think of Oregon tailgaters? Are they good?
Well, it's hard to say because we've barely seen any.
We've seen maybe five. We've seen maybe five Oregon fans.
They're lame.
Yeah, and their colors are ugly.
I know. Who likes green?
They're not SEC. They don't know. They don't know.
Pot smoking liberal fools, man.
You haven't seen one Oregon tailgate. That means they're lame.
Dude, do you see any Oregon people having a good time out here, partying? We shut down Dallas last night. I mean, some bars ran out of alcohol. How do you run out of alcohol?
No one can be out here and represent like LSU or any SEC school does. They have no idea.
What do you think of Jordan Jefferson?
He's arrested right now. So we're cheering for Jarrett Lee.
If he did that, then it's despicable. If he didn't, then I wish him luck. But you shouldn't put yourself in that position in the first place.
Because he's sweet. He's a really good person, and we know him. We know him. He's a really nice person, and he's just hot and strong and fine and tall.
Hi, my name is Chip Bader. We're in Arlington, Texas with Mackenzie Moe, a worker of Shady's Bar and Grill in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're going to interview about the recent developments of quarterback Jordan Jefferson and the LSU Tigers.
I can't say anything. I wasn't there. I wasn't working.
I heard Jordan Jefferson didn't do anything. I want the Ducks.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
But at the end of the day, I think if you get jumped in a bar, then you should be acquitted.
After a wonderful day of tailgating, LSU actually did end up winning the game 40-27 over the Oregon Ducks here at Cowboy Stadium. For Pelican Sports, I'm Carter Bryant.
Oh, thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Tynan, Miss Louisiana Teen USA 2011.
And I'm Paige Pennick, Miss Louisiana USA 2011.
And you're watching Pelican Sports TV.
40 years, 4 decades, nearly half a century. That's how long the citizens of Greater Baton Rouge have chosen Richards Honda. A simple, sincere, and honest process.
Louisiana's oldest and most experienced Honda dealership for over 40 years, Richards Honda.
Hello, my name is Debbie. Welcome to Debbie's Bridal, a formal affair.
Come see the many great lines we carry in bridal, bridesmaids, mothers, flower girls, tuxes, and more. We also carry over 25 top designer lines in debutante gowns, Mardi Gras, pageant, and prom. Come meet me and my staff with over 30 years of bridal and pageant experience. Debbie's Bridal, a formal affair, Burnside and Gonzales, where service matters.
BetterBatonRougeJobs.com has been extremely beneficial for the TM Automotive Group. And what stands out to us, it's easy to use, not only for us, but it's easy for the applicants. And it's the quality of applicants that we get. It's timely. We post something in the morning. By that afternoon, we have double-digit applicants. And again, it's the quality of the applicants.
Employers, now is a great time to hire, recruit, and look for potential new employees.
BetterBatonRougeJobs.com. It's free for job seekers and great for business.
Our primary fundamental belief is that better ingredients, better pizza is quality, and that's what Papa John's is all about. Nobody does what Papa John's does.
Right now, get any large pizza with your choice of toppings, even our signature specialties, only $11. That's right. Order now at papajohns.com and get any large pizza with any toppings, just $11, only at papajohns.com.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
40 years, 4 decades, nearly half a century. That's how long the citizens of Greater Baton Rouge have chosen Richards Honda. A simple, sincere, and honest process.
Louisiana's oldest and most experienced Honda dealership for over 40 years, Richards Honda.
We continue with Tigers Roar, right here on Pelican Sports TV. Chris Landry, NFL scout, Fox Sports football analyst, and me, Tommy Krysan. Chris, major conferences, football in particular, I asked you on the radio if this will go to other sports or perform a separation. We don't know that. That could be down the road. But certainly things are shaking, things are flying, a lot of rumors and stuff. Then there's been some factual information to come out. And, you know, today all of a sudden it said that the SEC would accept Texas A&M with some stipulations. Now it looks like the stipulations might get in the way. You spent a lot of time today speaking with people in the different conferences, not just the Big 12 and the SEC. Give us the very latest.
Well, the big thing, I think, to understand that the Texas A&M wants to go to the SEC and the SEC wants them. They voted unanimously to accept them. But understand that there are legal recourses and legal issues. The SEC doesn't want to be in a position where they're raiding another conference, even though that's not what's happening. Legally, it can be perceived that way. So their stipulation was they needed an assurance to that no school would litigate in any way, shape, or form. And while it appeared that they would have that, there are some schools, namely Baylor being the forefront, but others that are looking into the litigation process. You got to understand that some of the schools in the bottom level of the Big 12 are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for a place to stay and be, as the Big 12 apparently is looking like it's gonna crumble, and with Texas and Oklahoma look like they're ready to make a move. So it's a lot of maneuvering and a lot of covering your backside on both sides. So at the end of the day, we know A&M is leaving, and I can tell you, speaking with folks, that they're going to be in the SEC, and it's going to start a snowball effect because I do expect Oklahoma, although there's late word that maybe the Pac-10 is going to have some restrictions, and maybe that the Big 12 can kind of rally and save itself again. You remember a year ago they went through the same thing. But there's a lot of rumors that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State by the end of this week, early next week, will announce that they're going to the Pac-12, and then Texas and Texas Tech won't be far behind. And it would create a domino effect where you're going to have conferences eventually expand to where we're going to have likely 4 major conferences. The Pac, whatever you want to call it, up to 16 or 18 or 20, and it's very likely it could end up getting that high, folks. The SEC, the Big 10, and some sort of a merger, if you will, and if not officially, but of teams between the ACC and the Big East. That's where it apparently is headed. I thought it would be long-term. it may be a little shorter term than any of us had thought. But a lot of chaos, a lot of obviously trying to maneuver and position yourself. If you're one of the top schools, you've got options. If you're one of the schools that are in the lower end of things, you're trying to see if you can survive. And we talked about it on the radio today. The Big 12 is in danger of going away, yet they're trying to survive and keep their status and at least keep the conference together. And maybe, if possible, if they can keep one of the big boys or both of the big boys, meaning Texas or Oklahoma, stay in a BCS status. But, you know, obviously losing A&M, already losing Nebraska a year ago, if they lose Texas and Oklahoma, they have been gutted. The head's been gutted. There'll still be some meat left on the bone, but how much they can survive, it's going to be questionable.
Chris, I think it's safe to say that, you know, we're sitting here in September, and by the time we get to mid-July of 2012, you know, less than a year from now, or maybe even, you know, 60 or 90 days before that, the landscape of college conferences is going to have changed significantly. We've seen some changes, as we all know, in the last 2, 3, 4 years. We've seen a little of this, a little of that, you know, and we knew that the result would be more. And I think as when we sit here next July, it's going to look a lot different.
I think there's a good chance that it'll be completely different. Yet, will they rally and maybe prevent and resist the big changes, and we'll just see a trickling of changes, you know, kind of like last offseason. Remember, we went over a year ago, and it was going to be the Pac-16 back then. It was going to be the Big 12 leaving basically the schools that are rumored to go to the Pac-10, now Pac-12, were rumored to go back when it was the Pac-10 before they added Utah and Colorado. Well, that was staved off. Will that stave off a little bit longer? Who knows? But it seems like long-term that's where we're headed, and it has a lot to do with the TV money and where the future of the sport is going. And obviously, you can look at the Texas situation. They've got their own television network, which is going to, by the way, put $5 billion into the academic side of the university. And I'm told from the Texas side and from the Big Ten and the Pac-10 side that because Texas has talked with both of those conferences, that they're going to be able to keep the Longhorn Network. That's part of it, but obviously if they were to go to the Pac-12, they wouldn't have quite as much of the revenue sharing. It would be a little more equitable than it is right now in the Big 12. The bottom line is this. When the Big 12 saved itself a year ago, you could see there was a lot of disharmony within that house. And while it kind of looked good on the outside, on the inside, you had a lot of unhappy people. It started with Nebraska. Nebraska left. A&M had enough. They're moving on. And now you're kind of seeing Oklahoma that's taking the high road. They kind of see that they have some options maybe down the road. So at the end of the day, whether it's a slow death or a quick one, it's going to look very difficult, I think, to see the Big 12 as a viable conference when you lose a Nebraska and now you lose an A&M, which was not one of the top 2 or 3, but a significant one. And, you know, obviously if they lose Oklahoma and Texas, then quite frankly, it's going to be, you know, the Mountain West Conference with a different name.
Chris, I asked you this question on radio. I'll ask you tonight here on TV. The 4 major independents, Army, Navy, Brigham Young, Notre Dame. Could this conference shuffle end up with, I know your answer, but what could these teams, in particular Notre Dame and Brigham Young, end up affiliated with a conference for football?
I think Brigham Young is very high on the Big 12. If they can survive and rally, I think they definitely be interested in bringing them in. Notre Dame is still, I think eventually, although they've always maintained they're going to stay independent, and I believe that they will until we go to these super conferences, I think they're more likely to go Pac-10 or Pac whatever we're going to call it as it expands, because it broadens their base nationally. Big Ten is still an option, but not their first choice. So I think when we go to the Big 4 splits, which again I think is eventually down the road is going to happen, I think you'll see Notre Dame then go in. Probably not before, because I think they still can have a little bit of their cake and eat it too with their current setup. And then Army Navy is a little bit of a different situation. They can kind of do what they need to do. But I think what's happening and what eventually this is leading to, it's going to be a separation within Division 1A, the bowl subdivision, 120 schools. We're going to see a separation between 64 to 80 schools, because it's going to be probably 4 conferences with 16 to 20 teams. So that's anywhere from 64 to 80 teams. And then the rest of them are going to be at a different level, which you can make a case if you're in Conference USA, you're not going to compete for a national championship. If Southern Miss or Houston go unbeaten, we'll have a nice conversation, but they're not going to be in the BCS picture. We've seen Boise, make some noise, and are making some noise again this year. They, I think are going to be a player and be in one of these conferences. But I think it'll be interesting is trying to cherry pick whether a Southern Miss is a go in one of the 80 or not. A Boise is, a TCU is, but there are a lot of those schools that would be on the fringe. Do they get invited to the party? Do they get left out? And if they get left out, they still can be competitive and they still can compete, but they can still go to maybe bowl games. But I think this is all leading towards a playoff. As we talked about with some of our listeners on radio today, listen, I'm a traditionalist. I remembered growing up with the Southwest Conference and 8 to 10 to 12, 8 to 10 team leagues really. That's going by the wayside. That ship is long sailed, and maybe I may not like it, others don't like it. I still just look at South Carolina and Arkansas as newbies to the SEC. Well, goodness, they've been, 20-some-odd years they've been in? But time's changing, and we're seeing that landscape of college football changing, and I think we're going to see more and more of it, whether it's a big fell swoop, massive changes where we're not going to recognize it in a year or two, or it's going to be a slow trickling like we've had. Change is coming.
All right. Hey, LSU, we mentioned their home opener this weekend, Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, 7 o'clock kickoff. It'll be against the Northwestern State Demons. They are in the Southland Conference, which features 3 other teams from Louisiana, the Southeastern Lions in Hammond, the Nicholls State Colonels in Thibodaux, and of course the McNeese State Cowboys over in Lake Charles. One feature, a new feature we have here on Tigers Roar each and every week is your LSU football fact, and it's brought to you by the Bryson Law Firm. Any IRS and tax needs, you need to go to the Bryson Law Firm. And Northwestern State coach Bradley Dale Pivotal is one of 4 former LSU coaches that the Tigers will face this year. Coach Pivotal at Northwestern State, Coach Nick Saban at Alabama, Coach Will Muschamp at Florida, and Derek Dooley at Tennessee. Once again, this is sponsored by the Bryson Law Firm. You see their phone numbers in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans. Ironically, Pelican Sports TV in those 3 markets. Give them a call. They're your source for any IRS problems. They can make a resolution with the IRS for you. Or you can visit them online at brysonlawfirm.com. Chris, the Northwestern State Demons, what do you see out of this club?
Well, talk a little bit of history. I give you Charlie Hennigan, Charlie Tolar, those names ring a bell maybe for some of our younger audience. Great players in the 1950s, both the Northwestern State Demons, but both started their careers at LSU. I don't know how many people will remember that, but 2 great players.
There's some others.
There's been some other good players.
Ed Orgeron.
Ed Orgeron played there. Bobby Hebert, Mark Duper played there. Gary Reason's a linebacker.
Craig Nall.
Joe Delaney, Craig Nall. And the best of them all, and Jackie Smith, the great tight end of the Cardinals and the Cowboys, the NFL Hall of Famer, is at Northwestern State. And Bradley Dale Pivotal done a very good job there, kind of changing the attitude. Listen, it's not an easy place. It's certainly can't get a lot of talent there, but I think you see some improvements.
This is Northwestern in the white.
As you really see them there in white. They throw the football well. Brad Henderson's come in and really rallied them last week, and I think is a guy that is, when you watch him play, his ability to run and throw are going to be pivotal here. But the thing that kind of impresses me is they're a real disciplined team. They're not overly athletic. There's not a lot of big-time playmakers on that team. But you can see that they're well organized. They really rally to the ball on defense. Got a very good tight end, and Justin Aldridge, a kid from Ruston, that's a good player. You saw a little bit of him here. But obviously with Paul Harris, someone as you're kind of watching him a little bit here at quarterback, a very good quarterback, clearly their leader and the guy they were going to hand the reins over. Had some off-the-field issues, nothing criminal or whatnot, but just a little bit of maturity issues, and then had a situation in the locker room where he has been suspended indefinitely. So Brad Henderson, who is more of a good two-way player, brought him back in this game, by the way. They were down quite a rally, and he's a good two-way player. He's from local kid from Starkville, Mississippi, locally in Starkville, and went to high school there and went to junior college not far from there. But it's going to be an interesting, tough, difficult task for them going up against the size and speed of LSU. I would compare them a little bit below where McNeese was last year in terms of talent. and they came in against LSU. But really good tight end. You know, the best player on defense is a kid from New Orleans, Derrick Rose, who went to Old Prairie Walker. He's a really instinctive player, big-time playmaker for him. Mike Adams, a Georgia kid who plays right end for him, is a good player. You know, but the real challenge is, you know, for LSU is, you know, you have to set a standard for yourself as a team in what your expectations are. You know, winning is almost, it's surely inevitable, but if you don't prepare like it's a big game, you don't execute and get better, it's going to hurt you down the road. I mean, I think we saw that last year with this team that I thought underachieved to some degree, and you know, ended up you know, having just a 2-loss season. But I think you've got to take advantage of this, and I use the term you got to play through the game a little bit, and that you've got to play it and keep in mind what your goals are for the season. Respect your opponent, and I think play it accordingly. And if you do a good job, Tommy, you almost have to break the game down into quarters, in a quarter and then a half. And if you could put this game away, what a great opportunity to develop your team and develop some young players and create more of a depth on your team through a game like this that you can't do in a normal contest where you're going to be the outcome is going to be in doubt for 4 quarters.
And you mentioned the tight end Justin Aldridge. His grandfather was an outstanding player at Northwestern State. His father, Corwin, who's a friend of mine, played at Mississippi State and was a pretty good tight end who had a cup of coffee with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So good lineage on the tight end Justin Aldridge. He was the FCS tight end of the week last week. 3 catches,
211 pounds. He's built like a receiver. Really,
well, he was a quarterback in high school at Cedar Creek, so up in Ruston. So anyway, Coach Bradley Dale Pivotal, we've got some comments from him from the Southland Conference Weekly Teleconference, talking about his football team, the Demons, who'll roll in here on Saturday night.
You know, we started very slow as a football team last Thursday night, and went in at halftime down 17-0. And I was real proud of our football team because, you know, when you look them in the eye, you can kind of get a feel on how they feel. And, you know, there was no panic. We came out the second half and just, you know, stuck to our game plan. And our offense, Brad Henderson came in at quarterback, reeled off 24 unanswered points as an offense. Defense, we started to get some stops. We started sustaining drives offensively and just doing the things that we had planned to do. But our focus has now turned to LSU, which, you know, might be as good a team as there is in the country right now. So it's a big challenge. To say that's an understatement. But it's going to be a great trip. I think what we have to do is go down to Baton Rouge. We got to start fast. I heard Matt Viator say it last week, and I totally agree with him that and to McNeish's credit, I thought they played LSU extremely well last year. They went in there and started fast, and good things happened to them, and they're in the game the whole night, you know, and was very impressed with how they played. And that's kind of what we want to do is go in there. We've got to start fast. If we're going to have a chance, you got to go in there and start fast and have some in all 3 phases. So that's our plan. But they're a very good football team, and you know, but it's going to be a great trip. We're going to take all 115 of our kids. Every kid's going to go. We're going to take 3 buses. We're going to go the day of the game. It's just a great opportunity. If you're a football player that, you know, grew up in Louisiana or anywhere really in the Southeast, I mean, you understand, you know, SEC football and LSU football. So it's going to be a great opportunity. It'll be a great trip. It's also a great trip for Northwestern, for our fans, and just everybody's very excited about the opportunity.
Coach Bradley Dale Pivotal, his father was a coach. He's been a coach and run around sports all his life. We look at a graphic of the bio on Coach Bradley Dale Pivotal, somebody who obviously spent some time at LSU on the defensive side of the ball and the defensive staff. And he's in his third year, as you saw in the previous graphic, as a head coach of the Northwestern State Demons up in Natchitoches. Real good guy. I interacted with him a little bit, Chris, when he was here. As you see the information on him here. He's got an impressive resume. He's made a lot of stops.
He's a good coach, as you mentioned, grew up around the game, and you know, just a hard-nosed football coach. And I can relate to guys like that live the game and you know, really loves working with young men, and he's doing a really good job there. And hope that things work out for him, because I know this is a great opportunity. These type of games mean a whole lot to these programs. It's something these kids kind of look up to. Think about the opportunities that they have to play in an environment like this. This is not something that they get every week, and you have to use this as a way to kind of foster and build your program. And he's doing a good job there. And the Southland Conference is a very good league, and certainly a game like this, you hope that they come out of it healthy and can build going forward in their league.
Demons defeated Delta State at home a week ago Thursday, 24-23. Brad Henderson, the quarterback, helped lead them to that. Of course, you know what LSU did. LSU did move up in both polls, one notch. Number 2 in the Associated Press poll, number 3 in the USA Today coaches poll. So the Tigers will be ready to roll. Obviously, this is a game LSU should win big, and unless one of the craziest things in the history of sports happens, that will be what goes on. Everybody knows it. Northwestern State knows it. LSU, fans, media, players. But here's some comments from Coach Les Miles and his players about the fact that you can't look past Northwestern State. You cannot look past any opponent in college football.
We've looked at the Northwestern State team, and the Demons are very talented. I can tell you that I have great respect for Bradley Dale Pivotal. He has them flying around. He has them well organized. It's a very competent scheme, very solid football, and you know, I expect that they'll be ready to give us their best shot.
The tempo and the aggression we played Oregon, we've got to carry on and play that same tempo and aggression against Northwestern. We can't take no team lightly at this moment.
Yeah, Coach Pivotal is going to have those guys jacked up. Of course, he's not the only coach down there that's been here, so they're very familiar with us and the things we do.
We can't take them lightly because they're coming in there bringing their A game. We're going to have to come bring our A game. We can't take them no lightly than that.
Definitely, I think as leaders, you know, I think that's our job. You know, never take anybody lightly. You know, that's one thing Patrick taught me last year. You know, you never take any man lightly. You know, you never know what they're capable of doing. So just really about us going out there and just playing hard.
As we know here at LSU, and I've been around those kind of football teams too, Troy State in 2008 and La Tech and those kind of teams, you can't, you know, take them for granted. You got to bring your A game because they can easily ruin your season. And Northwestern, they're a good football team. We watch them on film and very impressed with them. Got great speed. Coach Pivotal's over there, so we know he's going to come in fired up, and you know, we're looking forward to the challenge. They're a great football team.
Chris Landry, you've been there, done that. How does Coach Miles and his staff guard against taking the team lightly and, you know, and making sure that you still go get 60 minutes of football?
Well, the biggest thing you got to understand in a game like this, great players, great coaches, great teams, they understand, you know, one thing. It's all about you and how you prepare, how you play. If they go out and win this game by 50 but play poorly, go through the motions, and it's just the opponent makes it look impressive, the fans are going to be excited. But quite frankly, as a coach and as a team, you failed. If you fail to get better, you fail to grow as a team, as individuals, then you failed in the game, regardless what the score is. In the way I think you prepare for a game like this, listen, they've got a Mississippi State team that they're going to play, and you're already breaking down from a staff standpoint Mississippi State. You have that work already done. What you do in a game like this is you have an element that you can incorporate to make this game even more valuable as a teaching tool. You take all the similar things that Northwestern State at Mississippi State does from a formation, personnel standpoint. Now, there's not a lot, but there's some things. And you introduce that into your game plan this week. Without identifying it as Mississippi State stuff, you start to introduce it so that you are preparing for it and getting some extra looks. Now, in the game, you don't show those looks for the opponent, Mississippi State, next week to get a look at. But it helps you to what I call play through that game, and so that you can get better and get ready for that next week. I think that's what you do. I think if you just take the attitude, well, we're going to win this game and we'll just win the football game and move on, then you cheat your chance out of getting better. And I think it's the difference between maybe being a 2-loss team or a 1-loss team or an undefeated team if you lose and miss that opportunity to get better in a game like this.
Here's some comments about the Northwestern State Demons offensively and defensively from Coach Miles, Coach Pivito, and some LSU players.
Changed quarterbacks, and Brad Henderson came in and with 13 for 14 and threw the ball and ran the ball well. Came from behind to beat Delta State. Very talented defender and a conference defensive player of the Southland Conference, Derek Rose, and again another very, very talented defender for that team.
They definitely can run the ball, so definitely got an arm. You know, they like the screen game, kind of what Oregon was doing. So they have a running back too who definitely has some speed, who can get up the field. So just really about us just believing in the game plan and that Chief gives us, and just going out there and just playing our game.
Well, like every team in the country, I mean, the more competition you have at any spot, the better you're going to be. And you know, our quarterbacks, well, they were very close. You know, lived together all summer, and they're both good quarterbacks. And you know, I think if you got two that are very good, you know, our plan was to play them, and our rotation was 2-to-1. That was the rotation we went into the game with. So, you know, Paul would get 2 series, Brad 1, Paul 2, Brad 1. And, you know, that was our plan. And, again, Brad had a very good camp, had a good spring, and was just, you know, making sure we got him playing time, having him ready to go. Because, as we all know, and I've been through it a little bit here since I've been head coach at Northwestern State, where we've been beat up at the quarterback position. And to have that second-team guy ready and to go is always a very important thing. There's nothing worse than getting stuck with a guy that hadn't had game reps and you don't really know what's going to happen till you throw him into the fire, because I'm sure we're like most schools. You know, we try not to hit our quarterbacks in spring and camp. I mean, they're too valuable. So with that said, sometimes the first, you know, check you get on them is in that first game. I mean, how are they going to handle it when somebody's finally sacking them and tackling them, and you know, it's not touch anymore. So that was our plan going in.
I mean, this quarterback that they're starting now is more mobile. I mean, they run a nice little power game, a nice little running game. So, I mean, we just got to come out and attack the line of scrimmage. We could do that. We get knocked back and pretty much destroy their running game and stuff. So our focus this week is just working more on techniques and focusing on like the keys that your offensive linemen give you.
He's a big physical quarterback. He can throw the ball very well on the run. Actually, he's the second string quarterback, and he actually came in and won the game. They were down by 21 points, and they won the game by 1 point.
We don't have a lot of tape, but all we know is that they bring a lot of more people on the line, so we're gonna probably run a lot of horse, you know, like 3 D linemen, 3 tackles, 2 ends, so probably gonna be a physical game in between the lines.
Yeah, his defense and kind of is similar to what we ran here back in 2008, so it's something I know a little bit, but I know he's put a lot of new stuff in too, so I'm up for the challenge, and yeah, looking forward to you know, Northwestern coming in here.
LSU had a quarterback change about 2 weeks before the season started. They had a quarterback change at halftime in their opening game. Some Paul Harris, who's from Tara High School in Baton Rouge, a left-hander, some issues, conduct on the bench and in the locker room that Coach Pivito didn't like. They have went with Brad Henderson. You see the numbers on Brad Henderson. 13 out of 14, 210 yards, no picks, and he had a 40-yard touchdown pass to the tight end, Justin Aldridge. So here's a kid, as you said, Chris, from Starkville High School up in Bulldog Country for Mississippi State. He's been given the keys to the car at Northwestern.
Well, it's a great story. You think about it. See those numbers. Those are second-half numbers. You saw there in the piece. Down by 21, 24-point outburst in the second half to lead his team from behind. It doesn't get any better than that. I realize it's off the radar at a smaller level, but if that happens at a mid-major, even a mid-major level, much less a major college level, that is the story of the week in college football. So it's really impressive. A guy that was a distant second behind Paul Harris at quarterback in their spring practice and into the fall, but really responded. He's 5'11". He's a good two-way player, a very good athlete, good tight end in Aldridge that we mentioned. Sidney Riley's a power back. So listen, it's a big challenge for him, no question about it, but one that they have to, I think, embrace and take as a challenge to play a really good team, a great defensive team even, and kind of grow from there. And LSU certainly, as we talked about, it's got to respect that opponent and get better themselves. That's what it's all about, getting better. You never stay the same. You get better or you get worse. So what are you going to do with your opportunity?
We remind you, Tigers Roar is live on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p.m., 2 hours prime time, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, and on the internet at PelicanSportsTV.com. If you're catching this on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, you got a replay going. It does air on Fridays in New Orleans on WHNO TV Channel 20. That includes the North Shore, Bayou Country, Mississippi Gulf Coast. Saturdays on the ETEL Cable Network in Ascension Parish as well. And don't forget the Phones First WJBO Pelican Sports TV postgame show. Richard Condon and me, Tommy Krysan, right after the LSU Northwestern State game. Taking your phone calls, streaming on radio and TV, WJBO.com, PelicanSportsTV.com, and on the air at WJBO 1150 AM in Baton Rouge. And, of course, the channel you're watching right now, Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans. So don't forget about that. Right after the game, you need to jump on that. The TV version of that replay is Sunday morning in case you got other activity going after the game. You can check it out Sunday morning and see what was said about the football game. When we come back, we'll be joined by Brian Lazar of TigerBait.com. A whole nother hour. We got LSU stuff and how they're going to improve. We got the LSU soccer feature still to come, and a whole lot more. Chris Landry, NFL scout, Fox Sports football analyst. I'm Tommy Krysan of Pelican Sports TV. Stay with us. You're watching Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans.